welcome back to the Ladies of Lorcana project. Today I am super excited to welcome Kimber Knuth. Kimber is an Arizona-based Lorcana content creator and Ruby Sapphire items girly. She is one of the 3 Lorcana Muses who is known for her energetic nature, her love of villains. And Kimber, I'm so happy to have you on the show today.
I'm so happy that we get to hang out. This is so fun. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. This is great. We have talked with the Lorcana Muses, and you guys all tend to wear multiple hats within the community. You know, no one is identified in one lane, but how do you identify your primary role? Is it content creator, casual player, community organizer? Where do you fit?
I feel like sometimes I'm here for the laughs. I am a casual, sometimes competitive-ish player. I was able to get top 8 this last set champ, but I'm always working to get better. But I just love having fun and being with friends and having a good time when I'm playing Lorcana. And then with the Muses, it's getting to hang out with my best friends, which I love.
Yeah, nice. I love that. You're like here for the laughs. It's the fun, the enjoyment of the game. I think that's something that really rings true with how we get to hear you on the Muses podcast as well.
This is not, I feel like, the place to be taking things too seriously. Like, I'm not going to make it to a national championship, so I'm not going to, let this be something that upsets me if I win or lose. Like, as long as we're having a good time, then I'm having a good time.
We need that in the community. We need that balance of hey, we've got some people who are nose to the ground grinders, and we need the people who are like, this is fun. This is a game. Like, let's make sure we have that balance. Yep. So where did your Lorcana journey begin? How did you get into this game?
So my husband started with first chapter because he's done Pokemon, Magic, TCG, what have you. And he was like, there's going to be a Disney one. like red alert, Disney one, I will be part of this. And so he was lucky enough to hunter-gatherer some first chapter stuff for himself. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll open packs with you. Cool. I love Disney characters. I'll look at the art. But I was just like, I cannot get into this. At that point, I had very, very little baby. And I think our daughter was 4 at the time. And I was just like, I can't touch this. There's not a single world where I have enough time. And then Brittany and Stephanie started playing, and then everybody in the friend group started playing. And I was just like, that's so nice. I love that for you guys. And they're like, yeah, you're going to love this for you too. We went to Gamers Guild, and it felt almost like a little intervention. They were just like, we're going to play Lorcana today, and we have snacks. And I'm just like, well, you caught me. This has been found. And we just had one of their rooms for the day, and they brought a bunch of different types of decks. They were like, we're going to figure out what you like. Because I was like, I don't know. It's going to be hard and scary. And so I tried aggro, and I was like, I'm just going to die. There's no way I'm going to survive. And then they were like, try this Steal Song thing. I was like, oh, and I feel like something was born inside of me. And I was like, I like destroying things. And so that was the beginning of my path to Ruby Sapphire.
Destruction.
My villain origin story.
So I love it. They set a Lorcana trap for you. And they were like, yes, whether you like it or not, we're bringing you into the fold and you're going to learn to play.
And there were a couple of different steps in that journey. They were like, oh, let's go to the Olive Melt. Oh, that's crazy. We all brought our Lorcana stuff. The kids are going to run around and play, and we're going to battle it out. I'm like, okay, this is happening. Okay, I like this. Okay.
So there was a little bit of being, I don't know if dragged into it, but at least highly encouraged by those around you. Had you played other TCGs or done any gaming before, or is this new world for you?
Honestly, it was pretty new world for me. I not proud to admit, I did pretend I liked Magic for about a month or 2 in college for a guy that I liked. That was it. That was it.
I like the honesty there. I pretended to like.
I'm far enough removed now. It was not my husband. I can own the fact that it was absolute pretending, and I did not like it.
Some familiarity with what a TCG was.
Yeah, I knew some mechanics. I was evasive. I'm like, oh, that's flying. Okay. But not a ton. One of the things I think that really got me to the point where I love Lorcana now was deck building. Because Magic, I never got into it deep enough to understand the cards, but also having to dedicate a certain amount of your deck to just the mana to do stuff was such a turnoff because I was like, that adds a level of anxiety that I was, no, I'm not having fun anymore. Where with Lorcana, as long as you have an okay-ish inkability ratio or enough fishbone quills, you're going to be okay.
And I think that's something that your listeners, those who tune into the Lorcana Muses podcast, get to hear that you really love to tinker and build decks, and you're using some of those online tools like Dreamborn. Do you get to create all of those decks like in real life, or do some of them just kind of like is the fun for you building and putting pieces together?
I think a lot of the fun of it is building the ideas of it. And I love building things for other people too, just knowing their play styles. And I'm just like, I wish you could have folders for Dreamborn so I could be like, okay, husband, here you go. Here's your folder of different decks I've made for you that are hyper aggro that will hurt my feelings. I love trying to find unique combinations because, I mean, you think about meta decks, like there's Sisu on Ice, you know that there's going to be, at least until set 7, there's going to be Ice Cubes, Sisu, more Sisu, and then Maui's. Like some ramp. That's like the formula for it. But I love trying to figure out ways to make that work a little bit differently and almost spin it on its head so that it's something that's not always just the expected version of it.
Yeah. So adding a little bit of spice in there.
Yeah. Add a little bit of spice. And I'll probably build like one out of every 3 I build. I'll actually put together. My husband has our stuff so organized that it's actually pretty easy getting all the stuff, unless I have to start grabbing cards from different decks. That's where I start being like, okay, yeah, I only have one playset of Maui Half Shark because I'm a public school teacher. I cannot. Like, that's what we got.
And then it becomes a little difficult when you're like, I need those cards for this deck and this deck and this deck. So I can't have them all built at once.
Yeah, 100%.
Tell me a little bit about your naming of your decks, because that's also something that I have heard a little bit about, that you come up with some creative and punny names.
Anyone who knows me or my husband especially, he is like made out of puns. People say we're 80% water. No, he's 80% bad dad jokes. And it's like osmosis. I'm consistently surrounded by it. And so it like bleeds into me. He's always calling his emerald aggro nonsense his Sprite deck. And so I just built him one and I called it the Bubbles Hurt, because I just think about life experiences with that. And I remember the first time our now 6-year-old tried Sprite, she was like, it's spicy. Why is it spicy? I was like, lemon lime soda, tell me more. And I was like, okay, maybe that's like the only word you have to describe it.
Right. That like carbonation hits your system, feels spicy.
Yeah. I just like trying to drag in like different like pop culture references to make it more fun. I had a combo racer pirate locations situation that was Ruby Steel, and I called it Too Fast, Too Piratey. I don't know. I just think that that's part of the fun of just being like trying to be creative and clever with it.
I love it. I love the creative names.
They don't all have creative names. Some of them are just like lots of items, attempt number 5. Like, yeah.
What has been one of your favorite memories from being in the Lorcana community since you've been a part of this game?
Oh, that's such a great question. So we have this amazing player at our store, and she loves her eels deck, her emerald amethyst eels. And she's just like, there was a day that we were playing, and I always joke that after 9 p.m., like, crazy Kimber comes out, like, watch out. And it was definitely after 9 p.m. and she and I both work with kids, and our league is Friday night, so like we're both just like crazy. And so
end of the week, all responsibilities are like, okay, we can let go a little bit.
Honestly. And so everyone else was still finishing up their games, and we just look at each other. She's like, do you want to see what happens when the eel deck does what it's supposed to? I was like, yes I do. And so I can't remember if I was playing Steel Song or my Sapphire Ruby item nonsense at the time, but we ended up playing Chaos Lorcana. Like, the rules went out, like, because we were just like, our entire goal wasn't winning, it was seeing the most epic eel combination. And so like I was like, okay, I'm at 20, but like, no, I'm not, I'm actually at 0 because this and such thing happened. And we just started storytelling along with our game, and everyone was just like, what is happening? And I was like, hey, hey, look, I'm getting too close. Like, Flynn Rider had be prepared in his pocket, except it only wipes my side. And like, we were just laughing, having the very, very best time. And Chaos Lorcana is still something that we talk about, even though that was probably 8 months ago.
I love it. What a fun story. And again, really highlights your sense of fun of being a member of this community. Like, all right, doesn't have to be this cutthroat experience, but
Yeah.
like, let's just go and be silly and have
I
some
was
fun
like,
and
I want to see
see
your
what the
combo.
crazy
I want
eel
it to
stuff is.
happen. I want to
Did
see
you get
how
to
crazy.
see the eel combo?
Yes, like everybody had evasive and ward and support, and it was insane. I was just like, this is the eel army. They're here. This is awesome. And she was like, this is the best. Like,
the eels are conquering.
yeah, it was so
Nice.
fun.
Nice. It's fun to see some of those mechanics come into play that maybe you wouldn't see in a typical like meta deck that you're going to get a lot of exposure to. But oh, here, someone took the time to see the synergy in these cards, build that, and okay, maybe it takes a little while for it to get off the ground, but let's take that time and have it fly and get its moment in the sun.
Let it get its running start.
Yeah.
And I think that's what new set season always gets me so excited, because it's like, oh, like there's not, I don't have that little voice in the back of my head yet that's like, oh, all of the smart Lorcana players are building this in their decks, so like ignore what you want to do, like do what they're doing. And I don't have that yet, because it's like nobody's played with these cards yet. Like, and it just feels like you get a new paint set and you're just like, oh, I get to play with this and nobody's telling me what to do yet. And so I'm just like, puppy builds, let's go. Ink explosions.
That's a great take on it, that freedom that comes from there hasn't been anything quite set that this is the power deck or this is the thing that you're going to maybe run into in more of those competitive environments, but everyone's trying stuff out, all the rules are open.
Yeah, that's so much fun, because I generally, like, I'm an only child, so I'm a competitive person, because I think that's kind of wired into only children, whether we want it or not. I want to do well, but sometimes it can be frustrating when like getting into that nitty gritty part of the meta, and that's where some of the fun is lost for me. So new set season is just like, loves it.
Well, with the Lorcana Muses, not only have you been pulled into the Lorcana community of playing, but you have now stepped into the role of content creator. Have you done content creation before, or how did you, start your
not even a little bit
journey in this?
The timing of it was actually insane. Well, Brittany and Stephanie originally started the podcast, and my family was on vacation up in Oregon all summer. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love that for you guys. And it was that. And they were always like, we want to have you come on, talk about deck building, this, that, the other. And I was like, of course, because we genuinely are best friends. Like, we have the best time together. I work with Brittany. Stephanie and I both have similar age kids. And so we already like spending time together. And I think that comes through on the podcast, that we just like each other. Originally, they were like, we like this. This feels good. We're glad you're here. And I was like, okay, let's try and make this work. I was like, I'll start trying to do some TikTok stuff. And that's where we started with that. And we ended up getting a card reveal. And then Stephanie was like, I can do some TikTok stuff too. And then we all just kind of like pick up pieces where we can. And I'm more the graphic design nerd for like flyers and stuff. That it all just started as that. And it kind of was something that was really good for me at the time, because just before I was on the podcast for the very first time, my mom had unexpectedly passed away. And so I needed extra support. I needed extra like people, and kind of like, I always joke, like I disassociate by deck building, and it kind of became just a place that I knew I was going to be taken care of. And I knew that I like could not have to worry about the nitty gritty of life, and I could enjoy myself, and that was still something that I was allowed to do.
I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your mother. And I really love the fact that you highlight that even through grief, it's okay to have joy and to be able to have this, community, but also these close friends that were supporting you through finding those moments of fun and joy.
Yeah, and it was important to me to still do that, because I do have kids that I am having to figure out grief while they're watching. because they're also experiencing it, and I don't want them to think that it has to look like crying in a closet for 4 months. Like, there are moments where you go cry in the closet, but there's also times where you can still go out and eat dinner with friends and go dancing and play games and have fun, because life doesn't stop and nobody wants life to stop when something sad happens. Like, and my daughter's like, she's 6, and so she's like eyes open enough that she really is catching on to a lot of those pieces where I'm just like, nope, I have to keep it together at some level and let her see all the sides of it.
Yeah, I think that's so important, that modeling that it's not just one aspect or the other, but as you say, like all sides,
Yeah.
that I can't imagine there aren't moments that just hit you unexpectedly with waves of emotions in whatever form they show up. And to be able to show the piece of, we can still live, we can still move forward and engage in life through times that are challenging, through times that may feel sad, and have that. So what a lovely way to bring in elements of this game as a way to model that for your children.
And the timing of it with me joining the podcast like a few weeks after, it really like lent itself to being a place where it was like, it kind of felt like the exhale, like right before you're about to jump into something new. And so it really has been so nice to have as both a way to distract myself sometimes, but also like being with people that I know care about me, not for all those other roles in my life. It's not because I'm a teacher. It's not because they're not obligated to. And so it just has been really nice in that community sense.
What's been one of your favorite things about being a content creator?
So I unfortunately have not been able to go to any like of those DLC events or anything like that, because the universe hates me, at least at some level, because I don't get tickets ever, even though I'm like right there. I've done Disney. I know how to get a fast pass for Rise of the Resistance. Like, you didn't have to pay money for it. Like, I had my Navy clock open in one app, I had everything else open in the other, and it still didn't happen. I'm like, why? But I think my favorite thing was when Stephanie and Brittany came back from being in Anaheim for the LCQ and nationals, and they were like, we were just having lunch and someone stopped and walked back because they recognized our voices. And I was like, that's craziness. I can tell my 6-year-old is so proud of me, even though that's like a little, like, it might seem like a little thing to other people, but like, it's huge for me, because she's like, can I have stickers to give to my classmates? And I'm just like, okay, that's a little creepy, because like, I teach at your school, but also like, I love that.
That she sees you in this light of like, hey, my mom has this podcast and I want to share with people.
Listening to her talk about it is so cool. She's just like, yeah, my mom does a podcast and like people listen to it. And she like is so drama that she like will tuck her hair behind her ear. It's so funny.
And that is really special. Like, you mentioned that you didn't get to be there for that moment, but that you guys created this thing, and now there is that sense of recognition. Like, hey, it's not just going out into this void of nothingness. People are engaging and responding and recognizing what you bring to the table, that they're able to say like, hey, we feel like we know you, and are you the ones who are providing us with this fun and entertainment?
There's a quote that someone says about books, but I think it can apply for this too, where books are windows, mirrors, and doors, and it's just a way that we can either go and experience something new, or experience something from someone else's point of view, or see yourselves in something. And I think that's been one of the goals that we've had in our podcast, is that people can see themselves even if they're not like the competitive top of the pyramid player. And if they are, that they can still get something from that too. And just seeing different perspectives of different people in the community and knowing that there are people like you. I think Steph has especially done a great job with that, with being so open about mental health and how that plays a part in her journey, both in Lorcana and life too.
And I think that's one of the things that draws people to what you guys do, is that relatability. And that as a trio, you guys each have different elements that you bring to the table. So for anyone who listens to the Lorcana Muses podcast, we have heard you talk about your love of villains, and that you see kind of the ultimate Disney villain, or maybe your favorite villain, is being the generational trauma from Encanto. This always makes me laugh. As a mental health therapist. I'm just like, yes, the ultimate villain. But tell me a little bit more about this. So, what is it that draws you to this as your favorite villain?
First, I saw Encanto and I was an absolute wreck. I was like, I have to wait until the very end of the credits. Not because I'm hoping that there's a special extra scene. No, it's so that I can get emotionally composed enough that people aren't asking if something bad happened to me in this movie theater as I walk out. And my eyes are red and my face is puffy. So, like, I love Encanto in so many different ways. Like, the musical girly, absolutely. The music is fantastic. We have Mirabelle with her curly hair. I also curly hair girl. Like, let's get more representation. We love to see it. And then when it gets to those deeper parts of her not feeling like she belongs, I have experienced similar things within my own family because there's some differences between me and my family. But the piece that always gets me with the generational trauma was just how when they get to the point where they return to the site where all of that initial pain happens, they go to the river where everything fell apart, and then they get to have that beautiful, like, it goes full circle and everything gets to go come back together in that same physical location. And I love when people are joking like, this is clearly fiction. Abuela would never apologize in real life. But I think that's where we get to, like, see a way that we can be better. Like, that's where we get to do better. Is like, we know that we aren't perfect, but we can apologize and make recompense for it when that's available. And so I just am like, oh, I love it. I love it.
I really like that the way you describe that is because it's less about the villain part and more about the, like, hey, there was rupture and repair, you know? So we got that reconciliation. We got that ability to move through something that was really tough and recognize and own our stuff and be better, that rather than here we have, I don't know, Ursula or Jafar, who are kind of like stuck in their villain roles, that this was something that became transformational. So, like, that's a really neat part about, like, this villain, if we are to say, is, you know, the generational trauma. And I think that applies. This villain of the story was really something that elevated everyone in the family to kind of like, all right, we get to level up with our humanity and now show up in a different way that's breeding connection versus disconnection.
Yeah. And I think that after they've had to stare that in the face and grapple with that, the part that really gets me that doesn't always get everybody else is when they're singing that final song and the people of the village are like, we're here. Like, we don't have gifts, but there's lots of us, and we are here to help you because we care about you as people, not just because Luisa can haul 7 donkeys at a time. We want to help you because you're part of our community, not just because Camilo can hold my crying baby and I can finally take a nap. Like, and just having that value inherently, not just because of something that they're able to give.
Right. And so, that's
I could talk about it forever.
You are worthy, period, not because of XYZ.
Exactly. It's like, you have value. You are, like, so important and just have so much goodness right there. And I think it's also like, everybody is someone's villain in someone's story. Abuela was acting she was so afraid, and that fear led her to do things that she ended up regretting, but she was able to fix that.
Yeah.
And
yes, I could go into dissection of the
honestly
of this film.
I need to go watch it.
Bringing us back to, you know, the game of Lorcana, you know, talking about the generational aspect of things. I know that you have played with your next generation, playing with your children. What is it like to engage in Lorcana with other family members?
It's so funny because I feel like we have our own household meta, because we all know each other's play styles so well, because that's the easiest place for us to play. I don't have to get a babysitter for at-home Pizza League night. Like,
Pizza League night? Is that the family league?
Yes, family league is Pizza League night. Get some Papa Murphys and then we just, whatever happens, happens.
I love that idea of having, like, a family league or a play night, that's something that I actually haven't heard much. There is often this idea of you have to go out to league to play, or you have to, find some time to connect with another person. But set that up at home if you've got kids or parents who play, create a family.
First, it was so fun because over Christmas we were up in Oregon with my husband's family, and we got his parents the Gateway game. And it was so funny because we opened it and like my husband was the one who started this. He's like, "Okay, choose your coaches." And we both just like look at each other like, "What?" And so I was like, "I'll help with the Ruby Sapphire deck, like whoever ends up with that one." And so like it was so fun because I was like, we're like here and we're helping the Lorcana go here, and it's something that we're all loving and enjoying. Like our daughter was over in the corner just like cheerleading, like yeah. And, but it's so much fun to have all of those lessons. Like as a teacher, I'm always looking for my in for what I'm going to try and teach. And I was letting my daughter use an Amber Steel, kind of like a diggy hole variant of a deck, and she was at our game store while we were actually recording a podcast, and I was just like, they were actually practicing Lorcana, some of the people there, and I was like, "Hey, can you play with her really quick, like while we get started? My husband's almost here to pick her up." And she's like, "Oh, I'm really good." And I'm just like, "Oh, honey, baby child, like these are adults, you're gonna get your like booty butt handed to you, like this is gonna be a problem." And she did actually so well, like she won. And I was like,
"That's wonderful."
Huh? What? Like, not to not say I don't have confidence in you or the deck I built, like, ish.
Right, but playing with grown-ups who maybe practice a little bit more or have more developed brains and reading skills. I mean, really, having a 6-year-old as well, I can understand that sometimes the mechanics are hard sometimes
she just wants to sing a song because she likes the song. When I'm playing my Ruby Sapphire and it's turn 4 and I don't have a character out yet because I'm just like building my inkwell, and she's like, "I'm going to sing Storm Rage On." And then she starts singing it, and I'm just like, "Oh, honey, baby, we need to have a conversation about like what goes in a bag and maze, like custom maze on cards." At home, sometimes we let some of those things slide a little bit. We try and keep the base rules pretty solid. Like, you have to ink inkable cards. If it says Reckless, it has to do this certain thing. Try and keep the foundation of the game there.
Yeah.
But I was playing against her the other day, and she had just had that experience at our game store, and she's like, "Get ready to lose, Mom." And she's playing this big game. And I definitely beat her that game, and she just was like, "I don't like this. I don't like this." And so we got to have a conversation about perseverance and having a good attitude and what sportsmanship is. And so it's a lot of good conversations and also just funny moments too.
And I think that's something that's really valuable in bringing kids into the game is that they do get to learn through these experiences. So if there are, others out there who are listening or watching who are parents, or family members of young ones trying to get them involved in the game, what tips do you have for, since you are a teacher, teaching the game of Lorcana?
I think it can be helpful. I mean, the Gateway, I love how it sets it up with like the different phases of adding complexity to the game. I think you can break it down even farther though, like starting off with a majority of vanilla characters that you're deciding when is it good to quest, when is it good to, we just say quest or fight, what are we going to do? And kind of simplifying that language a little bit. And then we made a little cheat sheet on an index card. And so like it helped, like we put evasive down in a couple of words. Like evasive can only fight evasive. It's kind of like, and we put like a little hidden something. I can't even remember what it was. Like a little invisibility cloak kind of situation.
Oh, like
on it.
Like a visual symbol.
Yeah, little visual things. And she is 6. And so we were just like, okay, she is getting better at reading because she is the child of nerds, including a reading teacher nerd. So that's helpful. But having those little visual things. And so we were like, rush equals like fight now. And just really simply breaking down those mechanics so that, and having that as a reference. So it's like, oh yeah, I can do this and this and this. And avoiding more complex cards at the beginning is definitely important, I think.
Yeah.
Building to that. There's still some cards I'm like, you don't need to know about that one yet.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Funny story. My husband was working on some deck builds for our daughter, who is also 6. And one of the builds he put in Lyle, the one who on play assigns another, opponent's card reckless, but then also has the whole losing lore aspect to it. And I
Yeah.
was like, I think that's a little like might be a little complex for,
Mm-hmm.
for a deck. And he was like, no, I struggle with that card sometimes when it's down, mathing all of the, okay, now if I do
Yeah.
this, then this.
Like, I'm just like, you do not need to be bouncing Madam M's yet. You will.
Right.
But that said, like, there are some cards that I'm just like I was just letting her borrow one of mine when she was playing that Diggy Hill variant. And she was like, I saw her draw her hand. She's like, ugh, Perdita's here too soon. And I was just like, okay, one, you know that you don't want to see her yet. And you have opinions about it, so I already love that. And then, but when she did play it, she was like, I get to go find a friend. And listening to her, like, out loud talk through her reasoning of which 2-drop or less character she was going to bring back, I was like, okay, remind me not to underestimate you.
Right. So you were developing critical thinking, we're working on math skills, we're problem solving.
Yeah. The teacher and me, I'm just like, it has every good thing. It has every good thing. We're reading, we're comprehending, we're solving problems, we're having interpersonal situations, all the good stuff.
Well, I know you have another little one who's a bit
Yeah.
a bit younger, probably not quite yet ready to play.
Yeah, 1-year-olds have a hard time.
Yep. One thing that I heard from a friend, which I really love this idea for parents of like littler kids who maybe aren't quite ready to play, was doing the Ursula's return
Mm-hmm.
game and having the little one be Ursula. So even if it's just flipping over the cards, that they
I
get to
love that.
embody Ursula. Maybe they have like an Ursula figure, and
I love that.
um, so I'm
They
like,
have to
just
make sea monster noises or it doesn't work.
exactly.
Like, honestly, that's genius.
Fun, creative
Oh,
ways
yeah.
to engage the whole family.
That's so fun. What we usually do, it's so funny because we love like opening packs, and with the new set coming out, I'm just like, oh, there's going to be lots of extra rules cards. And so as we're looking through, we're always just like, oh, this one's yours. And he gets so excited. He has his little like rules cards running around, and like they always end up on the floor all over the house, but it helps him feel part of it. And sometimes like I've even put a couple into little sleeves, and I'm like, the shiny rules card. My gosh. And we act like it's a big deal, and it's so fun. Because he doesn't know. He's just here for the
Right.
vibes.
That's adorable. I know I've talked a little bit about some of the things I know of who you are, teacher,
Yeah.
mother, but tell us, who are you outside of Lorcana? And how do you balance all of the different aspects of whether that's your personal life, content creation, involvement in the community?
These are the questions. I really have tried to, like, there are so many nights where it's just like, I have a school thing, I need to grade this and that and the other, and then I have like mom life, and I want to be doing Lorcana because it's my hobby and it makes me happy. And it really just like, I feel like I have to take it like case by case basis, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I know it drives my friends absolutely crazy. And so, like, bless them for dealing with me. But I am awful to plan things with because I feel like I'm always just trying to take a pulse of like where life is at. And I'm just like, okay, like, how was school today? I don't want to feel like I have to go and do this certain thing because I want to be able to be responsive to my family first, and also like take into consideration myself, because I have, if nothing else, I have at least 25 kids between school and home that like need me to be semi-stable,
Hmm.
and that's really big. And so I
So
take
you are a
that as,
full-time elementary
yeah, I teach
teacher?
third grade,
Third
so
grade.
that's
Okay.
8 and 9-year-olds, and so they're really fun too. They're really fun. And so I've got 23 there, 2 at my house. And sometimes I'm just like, nope. Like this weekend, I didn't go to league. I didn't go to Saturday fun. I was just like, I need to sit at my house and have time with my own personal kids, and also time where I call it my only child time. I'm just like, I need to only child. I need to be
Hmm.
alone. I need to not be needed. And sometimes I can get that same like battery refill when I'm playing Lorcana, but sometimes just like the stress of getting babysitters or this or that or the other like organized so I can go do that is just like, nope, I just want to just be and
Hmm.
have that be enough.
Time
And
for
so,
you.
yeah, I just want to listen to my audiobook and like doom scroll on Pinterest because sometimes that just heals your heart.
Yeah,
And
and
so,
it's important to have those outlets and allowing yourself to
mhm,
have the time for you, you know, particularly in uh, a working role where you are, I mean, you're an educator, but you're also such a caregiver
mhm,
at that age.
yeah,
You know, and then you also take on that role as a parent, and then your role in the Lorcana community, you know, that, well, I don't know if that's caregiving exactly, like it still takes a lot from you. So to have time that you get to just say like, hey, this is my time for me, and how, what do I need to recharge?
yeah, because I want to make sure that when I am somewhere, like I am there and I am not just like half present, half just like either completely shut off or completely exhausted, or even worse, resenting whatever it is that I'm doing. And I think that's something that I've worked really hard for and just figuring out in life is just finding that balance and how to be present.
Hmm.
And so I'm sorry to my friends that I'm the worst to plan with because I just want to try and be wherever I am. And I don't always know if I'll be able to emotionally do that until 2 days beforehand.
Well, and I think if you acknowledge and accept that, like that, hey, this is who I am, this is how I operate,
Yeah.
and this is what works, you know, this is what works for me.
Like, this is how the Hot Mess Express runs its schedule. We are so sorry in advance. We will offer funny jokes as emotional compensation for the annoyance. I'm so sorry again.
Well, one of the things that is really the cornerstone of this project is getting to know a little bit more about the female perspective in the TCG world. So I wanted to talk to you about what are some, you know, maybe unique experiences or even challenges that you have faced due to being a woman in this TCG world.
Yeah, it's so weird because there's such a like huge span of different experiences. And it was honestly one of the things that made me more hesitant about becoming a part of the Lorcana community and even just as a player is I know from my husband's experience and him coming home, I'm just like, ooh, we can really get into our feelings and like not everybody's always nice. And you hope that Disney would put like a little bit of like sparkly fixie dust to make it a little bit nicer. And it has, I think. But I was very apprehensive and nervous about that coming in.
Hmm.
I have had, I would say, 90% or more great interactions with people, but I have had people just find little things to nitpick and just be like, just so you know, and like, I hate being just so you know. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, like I play with very specific kinds of sleeves as a Sapphire player because I know that sometimes I have 15 ink and that's insane and I have to manage that. And so I will always, even though I have like the nastiest Venus cards, I'll find like cute little like prints for the back so I can count certain things on them. And so it's very organized. But I still had somebody one time would be like, you need to make sure that your ink is organized because the other person needs to be able to know how much you have. And I'm just like, looked down at like for Sapphire, this beautiful, like as good as it can be. And sometimes I just have to like step away and be like, there are some people where I'm never going to be good enough. And that's not a
Hmm.
me problem.
Hmm.
And really just trying to be like, nope, some people just need to have something to say and that's okay. That's about them. Even though in the moment I get like all emoji
Fuming
mad.
inside. Is that something, do you think that is gender related, or do you see that as connected to like anything else?
I don't know. I've asked my husband, I'm like, has anyone ever said anything to you about this? And he's like,
Hmm.
no. And I'm like, if this is happening because I'm a girl, I have a lot of feelings.
Hmm.
And I've had I've had people like explaining how to play my deck to me after I have already beaten them. And I'm just like, I think I got this. I can do this. Thank you. It's finding a balance of like when to let things roll off your back and just ignore it, but also knowing which hills you need to die on.
Hmm.
Um, Someone in our community was like kind of just writing off something like, oh yeah, it's just gonna be the moms and the kids there. And like
Hmm.
took a step back and I talked to Stephanie. I was like, what? And Stephanie was like, yep, we're going to say something. And just making people know that like certain things are not okay.
Yeah.
especially when it's the quiet part out loud. Like, oh, we don't need to be competitive because there's just the moms there. Adds
Right.
back in the other three be prepared. Like, I haven't
Yeah.
learned it all.
You're like, now we're going cutthroat.
I was just like, yeah, we're not.
That's not something that is new for me to hear talked about
Mm-hmm.
as a struggle amongst females in this space, is that there is kind of this discounting of female players. And
Mm-hmm.
interesting as well that it was not just female players, but also now this role, the moms and the
Yeah,
kids. So there's an identification of, well, couldn't you, what would it be different if you're playing dads versus moms?
exactly.
Like there are
Like, you would
many.
never hear someone say, like, oh, it's just the dad's playing, because, like, that's ridiculous.
Right. So it's this reductionism based on a role, and it's tying it to gender. That
Mm-hmm.
there's, okay, here's this role that you may exist in as a parent, but we're saying that your gameplay or ability to play the game is going to be less competitive or is
Mm-hmm.
somehow being judged.
Yeah, and I don't have as much time to be able to go to 4 different league nights. But that doesn't mean that I, as a strategic person and person who can think through problems and solve them creatively with new decks, that doesn't mean that it should just be like, oh, whatever. Like,
Right.
there are
We're just
ways
going to write
to.
her off.
Exactly, exactly. I think that's been something that's been a little bit of a struggle, but also a place to step up and be a voice for those who don't necessarily feel like they can be.
Mm.
Because there have been times in my life where I was not somebody who could feel comfortable speaking up about something like that.
Are there any ways that you'd like to see the Lorcana community change to become more inclusive to women or marginalized communities?
I think that it was really fun reading the new like set kits that were sent out to the stores about different like ways that they could have more pack rush events and more sealed events and things like that. I think that that helps like add in some more of those um lower stakes options,
Mm.
where you're not like, oh, I have to make a $400 deck to be able to go and like compete. And I think that that's really helpful. I love that our community, we have the theme nights, because then it's time for everybody to just bring their silly goofy like mess and have a fun time. It's hard to pinpoint it just back to a community thing. And I think there needs to be an understanding and having those bigger voices in the community being concerned about being kind and being thoughtful of others.
Mm.
Because if we stop and we think about how we impact other people in how we speak, act, all of that stuff, like if people just slow down 5 seconds, how big of a difference that makes. And I know that that's like my go-to soapbox. Like, stop, think, process what's going on. Is what I say to my kids. That's what I say to my husband. Is what I say to myself. I think that honestly, if everyone could just slow down half the time, like, Lorcana is a game. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a good time. And if we're starting to put people down about this game, like, I think we've lost the point.
Yeah. So that slowing down, being more intentional with language
Mm-hmm.
and how we treat our fellow community members.
Yeah. And sometimes people will like punch down for the joke, but I'm like, no, you don't have to. You don't
Yeah.
have to. We're all smart here. We can figure out other ways to be silly goofy.
We don't need to be hurtful
We don't need to
to
be hurtful.
be funny.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one of the other pieces of this show that I have thrown in there is to create yourself as a Lorcana card.
I love
So
it.
this is like my little bid for creativity and some fun in here. And I have been loving seeing what people are coming up with. So I'm going to pull up your card so everyone
Okay.
can see it now. So here we have got Kimber, Lorcana Muse. She is an 8-cost sapphire card. Stats are 3/6. She is a Dreamborn, Ally, and Girly Pop with some special abilities.
Yeah.
I'll be Bubblin', I'll be brewin'. We've got to get our fun little words in there. Mention your latest evil scheme deck build on the podcast. If the other muses look in disgust, gain 4 lore. And then the second extra piece is a little treat. Crack a joke. If the player that already finished their aggro game laughs, they buy you a coffee. Like this, we're adding in coffee to our game.
I wish for a while Brittany's husband Daryl would always get the buy, and I was just like, go get me Starbucks, I want a chai, and I would be like whiny and annoying about it. Then my husband plays aggro all the time, and I'm over here slogging it out in Sapphire. Like, my game will go to turns, don't you worry.
Right.
And so he's over here turn 4, whatever happened, and he's like, I'm just hanging out, chilling. I'm like, go give me a treat. Go give me a treat. And so
it's like, you aggro player who has extra time.
I'm like, hey, you're living your best life. Go give me a cappuccino, please.
So tell us a little bit more about the card you created. You are inkable. You are an 8 cost. So I mean, you're fairly expensive. Yet you are in Sapphire, so we've got that ramp ability.
Yes, and so like if you have the proper resources, it isn't as spendy. I put 3 attack because I don't feel like I'm very stabby, but it takes a bit to get me down. And so that's where the
strong defense. Like, yeah,
I don't want to die to a Zeus. That honestly was a big part of it. No, I will not die to a Zeus.
It's going to take more.
It's going to take more. A Zeus, and that was why I included that. And then inkable because I just try and be flexible and versatile and just like very go with the flow. And then I love the art for the card, and I was just like glitter and sparkles.
I love it. I love it. Looks like we've got like pixie dust flying behind you.
Oh yeah,
all of these like stars shining. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was like, I don't know how serious I should be, and I'm like, I'm never serious. That's how serious I should be.
Like, I gotta fit into my theme. I feel like your card is going to look amazing in foil. Like, it's gonna be so sparkly and shiny.
And I was like, is my bun popping up a little bit over the edge? Sure. But honestly, if there was going to be a part of me that's flying off of a card, it would be the crazy curly hair.
It's the hair, yeah. Kimber, thank you so much for being a part of the Ladies of Lorcana project. Where can people follow you, keep up with your work and your content?
Okay, so we are on the Lorcana Muses pod is what we are on X, and then everywhere else we are the Lorcana Muses. So that's Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, Facebook, and wherever you listen to podcasts. So that's
wonderful.
Us.
Well,
Thank you so much for having me.
Honestly, I hope that anyone who is listening or tuning in who has not heard the Lorcana Muses podcast, go check them out. Fantastic, fun trio of ladies who I have had the pleasure to now interview all 3. You are the final interview of the Muses. Before we wrap up, any final thoughts that you would like to share?
I love this project, and it has been so much fun. Katie, thank you so much for having me. You are a delight. It's always fun to see you in person. If nothing else, I'm glad we've gotten to know each other a little bit better.
Yeah, so it's like this has been a pleasure. So it's really I appreciate your time. So again, thank you for being part of this project, so the Ladies of Lorcana project, where we celebrate strength, community, and the women shaping the future of TCGs. All right, until next time, keep embracing your power, lifting each other up, and making this a magical game for everyone. If you like today's show, please like, subscribe, and follow. You can find at Lady Lore on Instagram, YouTube, or Blue Sky.
All right, happy questing.
Be sure to check out the next episode of the Ladies of Lorcana Project Season 1, an interview with Lorcana card altarist Bonnie of Bonnie B Design. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss an episode.